Welcome to the space where creators have aligned a positive and intellectual collab of open minds. For sharing and learning from one another, it's a vibe. We do also podcast on the mic. Subscribe, educators spitting bars. I guess you didn't know I'm multifaceted and humble, taking off life goals. The classroom is my comfort zone where I plant and sow seeds of knowledge, compassion, empathy, and hope. Reading is the key to unlocking your potential. Countless benefits, including cognitive and mental. Regardless of the genre, books are highly influential. Go get yours, I'll get mine. Make you strive, monumental. Come rock with me and get down to this new jam. With my friends, I had a very simple plan: educate the masses through books and life lessons. It's a grand slam. I'm out. Talofa and welcome to the Reads with Rosa podcast. I am really excited to introduce today's guest. She is passionate about working with youth, nurturing and strengthening connections between one's identity and culture, and building awareness around mental health in our communities. She is a creative and owner of small business, Teines Creations, based out in South Auckland and Aotearoa. She is a risk taker who dared to dream, and in July this year, she was crowned Miss Sāmoa New Zealand. She recently returned from our homeland after competing in the Miss Sāmoa Pageant, where she placed first runner-up. She is a proud tama'ita'i Samoa who represents her families, villages, and church with heart, humility, and grace. Her name means peace in Hebrew. Welcome to the show, Shilohm Filipi. How are you?
Hi.
How are you, sis?
Good. I'm so good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. And I just must say congratulations. I know a lot has happened the past few months for you, but I'm so grateful that you're taking this time. You know, it's very late night. It's nearly midnight in New Zealand. So I appreciate that you've taken this time after White Sunday practice to come online and do this interview. What's it like? You're now back home. Have you been able to catch up on sleep, or are you still go?
It's been since I've been back. I think since being crowned Miss Sāmoa New Zealand, it's just been a crazy ride. Sleep is not even in the equation anymore. But it's the sacrifices that one takes for such a role as big as this. So, it's been go. And
I hear you. You know, it is what it is. You just, keep on, stay strong. I guess, before we kind of get into the interview, I really just wanted to give you this opportunity. I like to ask my guests just to give a brief introduction about yourself and, shout out your people, your villages.
Cool. Okay. Talofa and kia ora. My name is Shilohm Filipi and I'm 22 years old. I currently live in South Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm from the beautiful villages of Siumu, Matau Tulefanga, Saleapanga, Vauwai Falealili, Sanapu, and Sale Aumua in beautiful Samoa.
There we go, fam. If you're related to Shilohm, follow her on social media, support the cause, support the sis, help her build her platform, and get out there and get amongst it. Thank you. I guess where can we start with this? Of course, I want to get into the pageant, into that experience and journey. I want to talk a little bit about being brought up in the whakasa. But before we start and go anywhere, I'm really curious about younger Shilohm. Like, what kind of child were you, or what kind of student were you at school?
Okay. As a child, I was always my grandpa's little shadow, my grandparents' little shadow, who they basically raised me. And in school, I was the quiet girl with the glasses, sitting either right in the front or, right on the side. When I was told one thing, I just got up and did it, no questions asked, even if I didn't know what I was doing. It was just our Samoan pillar of respect. It was just, once you're told something, you just do it. In my family, so my grandparents raised me, so I was always their little shadow. And being the eldest grandchild, you're always dragged to church events, to bingo, to family meetings, like, no choice. But for me, I grew to love it. Like, I grew to love going to these family meetings, to these church events, even if it was just oldies. Those were like my best friends. Like, those were my people. But yeah, Salam was always with the oldies, or she was always in the front of the class, right next to the teacher.
Oh, you were that child. And then, did you have access to books? Like, were you a reader? Did you go to the public library?
Yes, I did. Surprisingly. So a lot of my friends, whenever we went out, I was always fascinated in like the state library or the museum. In school, during lunchtime, I loved being in my own company. And because I was head girl for our school, if I wasn't, in meetings or with the principal, I would always find comfort in just sitting in a corner in the library. Like, it was just my me time. And in terms of books, like, I love to read anything. Like, I didn't really have a specific genre that I enjoyed. Actually, I really liked reading autobiographies. I just found it really interesting, like getting to know somebody through pictures and through words. It was as if like I knew this person personally, just because, just from reading autobiographies. Yeah, I could sit there and read for ages. But yeah, I always, the library was like my second home. Like, if anyone was looking for me in school, they knew to always look in the library.
Boy, that resonates with me. And, obviously, of course, with books, it just opens up your view, your worldview. It opens up like a whole bunch of different worlds and just imagination, and it just takes you so many places, almost like a sanctuary, where you can just kind of like drift off, and just be in that space. So, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing. I want to talk about your church, and Mangele, because they are well known for 13 days of Christmas. Wait, did I make that up, or is that what it's called? No, I think that's what it's called.
Right,
I was like, did I just make that up? So, they're renowned, they're renowned for that program, 13 Days of Christmas. Now, for those who don't know what I'm going on about, could you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Of course. So 13 Days of Christmas started in 2009. And basically, so for 13 days, just before Christmas, we invite different churches. So like the Catholics, 7 days, AOGs. We invite 13 different churches or groups, and they come and perform. They each have a designated night, and they just perform anything Christmas related. Some come and sing songs, some come and do plays about Christmas. And then in the end, we kind of ended off, classic Samoan with some food. We kind of just mix and mingle our church and our invited guest. And before COVID, on the 13th day, we always had a church or a group from Samoa. So they were always our special guest. That kind of ended it, like, the grand finale. So that was a norm. And since 2009, it's been going strong. During COVID, that was harder. It was harder for it to happen. But we did a virtual 13 Days of Christmas. So we still had our groups, but they just sent in their videos and kind of just live streamed it. And it was different. It was hard, but like we got there in the end. And like it just shows how big the role of technology plays nowadays. Like,
Right.
Yeah, it was just a Christmas with everybody kind of thing.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because you did mention technology, and I'm thinking, from your experiences and seeing the different like year programs, like how has it evolved? Like, obviously with COVID, it was live streamed, but when you think about through the years, like how did the taste in music, I don't know about the taste of music, but the genres of music that was, because it's not just like, I'm sure there was some like hip hop and R&B vibes in there, reggae. So yeah, how did you see that, as a youngster, part of the youth? Like, how did that evolve? You know, seeing churches come in with their scalings, you know, with their like, with their just, you know, like raising the bar kind of thing, you know?
Definitely in the like first few years when we first started, it was very traditional. You know, our churches, they always they had like a routine. Like they started off with a song, then they did a play, and then you know the youth would do a dance. But even with the dances, it was like classic Samoan Christmas songs, like, you know, the old tunes that we know, and the youth just danced to it. And they always ended off in like the songs that everyone always sings at Christmas. Over the years, since then, I've noticed that they've adapted like modern tunes. So, you know, they would use like Justin Bieber's tune, but use like Samoan lyrics kind of thingy. You know, we always kind of have a Samoan version to songs. So that was kind of the thing that adapted, you know, over the years was, we started using more upbeat songs, like, you know, R&B and hip hop tunes, but we used, you know, Samoan lyrics. And just in terms of like how it was recorded, in the beginning, we recorded it and we made DVDs, like we burned DVDs. And then, you know, whoever had access, we would like put snippets of it.
Yeah.
But over time, like now with technology, we've been able to just like live stream it, like everything that happens on the day, you get to see it on that day kind of thing. So it's been a big change, but yeah, it's been a good evolution.
That is so cool. And then in terms of your own youth group, because, you know, obviously your church, you know, plays a big role in this. And how have your performances evolved? Like in this TikTok age? just saying, you know?
Yeah, TikTok is definitely has played a huge part. In terms of our youth, we've been more expressive, I guess would be the word. Definitely with like the new music coming in as well, it's the youth kind of like just taken hold of it, and you can kind of see like the youth touch in our performances, even if it's like a church thingy. There's always like a section that the youth get to like really shine in, and we've been really shining.
You know, I had to mention the youth, and I wanted to ask about the impact that your Whewhiao and Whaletua have had in terms of their ministry, obviously for the wider church community, but specifically the youth, because I like to ask guests from Efakasa churches about the voice. You know, how are the voices of our youth amplified or felt, you know, in the ecclesia. So thinking about that, what impact has your Whewhiao and Whaletua had on your youth group?
I'd say they've had a very big and I guess that's with a lot of churches nowadays. The minister and his lady, they're like, because you know we like to say they're our spiritual parents. They play a really big role in guiding us spiritually. In terms of within our youth, our Whewhiao and Whaletua have played a big role in I don't know what specifically the year was, but we were able to form a junior youth group. And we fall under the bigger Aotearoa. But when, you know, we do church things, the junior youth, we have our own section. Like, you know, we have our own performances to do. We have our own songs. And with this, it's kind of a way that our pastor and his wife have allowed us to really stand on our own 2 feet. Because within our within churches, there's a saying that ole o tupulanga o vai malima ole kalesia. You know, the youth are the hands and the feet of the church, and if we are not moving, if we don't get the chances to really, you know, work our hands and work the feet, the church can't. You know, we're not moving forward, and it's been evident in the way that when we have, like, say, White Sunday coming up. The minister and his wife have really like let the youth take charge. Like, you know, growing up, you get a taloto and you get told where you stand, what your role is in a play, who's singing what. In terms of our youth, they've given us like, you've got 10 minutes do what you need to do. This is the theme, and like, you know, it's all yours kind of thing. And then, you know, we have a day that we have to just show them what we've got and hope that they understand, like, you know, where we're coming from. But it's kind of things like that. We have like Mother's Day, the junior youth have to perform a song, like, and we just come up with the song ourselves, like we work on it. And with those kind of things, it's kind of like allowed us to really think outside of the box, but it's made us like, we're not dependent on on the elderly, on, you know, to tell us what to do. It's really giving us the chance to take charge and show them that the future of the church is in good hands, kind of thingy. But yeah, like they've played a really big role in the youth, the growth of the youth. And because with our Feife'au as well, he really like highlights the youth, even in his laungas. You know, Feife'aus, they always launga in Samoan, but there's always like a section he does in English because he really wants the youth to understand his message and like take something away from that Sunday, you know, and just to add it to your spiritual growth. That's their role as your spiritual parents. But yeah, they played a really big role.
You know, many churches were and communities were affected by COVID. You know, there was the lockdown, the spread of the COVID, you know, the whole COVID situation. And what were you seeing in terms of your church kind of like coming together to support not just the people at your church, but the wider Pacifica community in Mangere East? Like what was going on? Because I remember reading an article where your Feife'au was featured and, you know, talking about the efforts of your church, but not just focusing on your people, right? Really spreading, you know, reaching out to those who are really in need. Could you speak to that a little bit?
In the spiritual sense, our church had started live streaming our church services. And then every night at 7 o'clock, we have a whainga lotu, so kind of like a lotu of fiafi. And just with, you know, Facebook, it's anyone can access it kind of thingy. And then we started doing little programs for the elderly, so the ma'amau salale, and we even had a program for the younger kids, tama'ita'i, and we allowed them, like outsiders, to call in and, you know, you could share what you kind of learned from the lotu of fiafi that was just finished. And we gave the opportunity for the kids to call in, and like we're trying to read like throughout the whole Bible. So we started from Genesis, and there'll be like a section that we focus on that night, and we put it up on our live, and we allow the kids to call in, and, you know, we give a paragraph for each kid to kind of read, just to kind of like get everyone connected. And so that was one of our programs, and we're still doing that up till today, that we've kind of like, we're kind of connecting with the community with. In terms of COVID and the lockdown, before all the restrictions, when the main focus was, you know, the vaccinations, we opened our church became one of the hubs that you could get vaccinated at. You know, we had the local GPs and healthcare services that are within Mangere come to our church, and we had our vaccination stations for like 3 days. And there, like, you know, families could come and get vaccinated, or if they wanted to understand vaccinations more, they could ask there. And usually when they left, they took like a food parcel with them. Sometimes we left things, our Feife'au, you know, they have a big garden kind of thingy. So like, depending on the season, like they had grapes, so they just leave their grapes outside their gate, you know, during COVID, and it was just like, help yourself kind of thingy. So, you know, we gave what we could, and we did what we could, you know, with the time that we had and the situation the whole world was in. But yeah, that was our church.
I mean, you know, living here and then with the COVID restrictions, and then a lot of churches were going online. It was just the best time for me. Like I get a Palangi church here, but like one day I remember I went to 3 different services online. Like I watched Aotearoa, and then I went and watched my uncle in Sandringham. Then you know, it was just like, it was so dope. Like I was just able to and I did not get sick of it, because it was just you know, because you read about the efforts of the church, you know, Efakasa churches, and just many different denominations, many different denominations of our Pacifica and, Samoan churches, just the efforts in terms of bringing communities together. And like you said, giving what you can, but then just being able to worship and listen to Veseloku. And I mean, it was so buzzy. I really appreciated it. And obviously, eventually, people went back to normal, and I was like, no. I mean, our local here was still online. Like my church was online for the longest time, and so it was a really, although the world was in like a bad situation, but I really loved that I was able to connect our Ifakasa church, churches in that way. I was thinking about culture and language. How has growing up in the Ifakasa nurtured your love and your understanding of our culture, practices, and the language, if at all?
Yeah. So within our church, like within the Ifakasa, that's kind of like your first school that you learn your a'e'i in. And from there it builds to waina whaia oi kind of thing. And then and then you get into White Sunday and you learn the skill of memorizing, your tauloto. You learn, for me, I learned easy and faster through music. My mom was in the Pese, and apparently when I was like 3 years old, like she would take me with her to choir practice, and I just sit there and I'm just like, humming my own tune. But I caught on faster because like I can hear the words, but I can connect it with the beat of the song kind of thing. And that's how I kind of that's where my skill of memorizing came from. And just because in church, everything's in Samoan. It's not until like the Fifth Launga is on Sunday, there's that little bit that's in English, but whenever you're in church, all you hear is Samoan kind of thing. And like it was just second nature. Like when you walk into church, I'm like my mind just automatically switches to speaking Samoan kind of thingy. And even like with weddings or with when we have anganu'u days, that's where like they really, with the Ifakasa, they really see the importance of culture and language, and they really like kind of drill it into you from a young age. Sometimes our whaiaonga sas, our Sunday school teachers, or just the elderly in the church, give you that good old stare, or
the stare of doom.
Like,
Koso yo kalinga.
Honest, or like the slap me in the face. They speak Samoan, and like that kind of just like motivates you to like, oh my gosh, like I need to know what I'm saying. But yeah, I think for me it was because we always had like concerts, just for our youth to kind of like challenge each other, because we have like groups within our youth. And I always loved when we had concerts, because we had the dances and the singing, and that's where I kind of learned the language better, just because I was doing things that I really loved, and then like the language just kind of comes automatically with it. And so the Ifakasa has played a huge role in my love for our language and culture, especially like when we go to Malius or we have fa'alawilavis, like you can never not have like the part where you have to do iakongas or ka'isuas. It's like it's second nature. Like it comes with just being in the Ifakasa, and in the beginning you're kind of like, oh, like I don't know how to iakonga kind of thingy, but over time, like sometimes like the girls just like kind of hide in the kitchen kind of thing. But over time you kind of see like the beauty of it, like, and the importance of it. And like for me, I'm just like, okay, I'll risk getting a few like colorful words just as long if it means that I get to understand what I'm doing, and it's really helped, especially now, like with like as who I am today and the things that I've just been through. I give it up to my teachings and my learnings from when I was younger in the Ifakasa. So
yeah, I doing the ikongas, all of that ka i the sua. I mean, you know, from very young age, like my dad's elder sister, who's, you know, she passed away a while back, but she was always drilling it into us. And I just remember, you know, we're at that age, like, fa'ali'i, man, fa'ali'i hard, because we'll
Low
get
key
told off, like,
arrows.
I want to say, "La me se se foi, lunga le le ko ngale la," you know, like things like that, right? But
Yeah.
it's so interesting to listen to you and go, oh, you know, that was really the only way to
Mm,
learn is just getting those
yeah.
growlings. And then, of course, at our church, when we're at Te Aratu, infamous, you know, there was always the koingas that would just growl the youth, you
Yeah.
know, it never. And you know, obviously now you look at and reflect and go, oh, it was to make us better.
Yeah.
It was so that we could learn. But you know, at the time, like you
All the
said,
time you're like,
people, yeah, like when it comes to full of get me full of kongai, and then the guys gap it. And it was always the same 2 or 3 people, and then and they only come in when it's time to eat. But yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about that. And I'm like, yeah, you know, that's really
yeah.
the only way to learn, you know. But I have, yeah, just scarring memories, scars. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it. You know, I was thinking about dancing. Uh, you've mentioned singing and that whole choir thing that so resonates with me. But I was wondering about who your first dance teacher was. Again, was that something you learned in the church, or was it? You mentioned earlier that you were always with your grandparents. Was it your nana that did the initial teaching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was my grandparents. My nana, she definitely yep, she was my first Siva teacher, my namesake.
Mm.
And like for me, when I see other girls learning, whether it be from their mom or their auntie, it was always like, oh, nice,
Mm.
good girl kind of thing. With my nana, it was like, "Ai whaleo lima," like, I was like, oh, kind of thing. I was just like, excuse me, I'm only like 5 years old. But yeah, it was like, yeah, that was just, her nature of teaching. It was just tough
Right.
love kind of thing. Like, in the end, I know she meant well, but in the time that you're learning, it's like, I don't want to do this anymore kind of thing. But it was always like, nga ngau whalelei lauking, or
Yeah.
I was song my love, vai vai whalelei mai. And so every time I dance, like that's just at the back of my head. It's like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, I don't want her like death staring me kind of thingy. And over the years, at first it was kind of like I need to dance. Like, my grandma taught me a dance. I need to do the dance. Gausalas or like church
Mm.
events, you get thrown under the bus and right in the middle kind of thingy. But over the years, like whenever like a song just comes on, like in our house, even if we're just cleaning, like everyone knows like to make space so I can have my moment. Like
Let
I'm
her
just
have
like,
her moment. Let her
oh,
have her moment.
no. It like, and it just goes to show that all that tough love, like
Mm.
as I say, like she meant well. And it, like in the end, I've gotten this big love for Siva. Like it, for me, it's like my way of expressing what I can't say.
Mm.
So whether, even if it's like a happy song, like my body just automatically knows how to how to feel and how to move. And that's just like the beauty of dance. Like it's both a therapy as well as like an expression kind of thing. But yeah, my grandma was definitely my first Siva teacher. And then with the culture in church, we always had Paul Sivas or
Mm.
Whawhiwhiangas. And like I was always like, yes, like, we're gonna dance thingy. Even up till now, like, for Sunday, one of our classes, they're doing us like a Siva Samoa, and I'm just sitting there in awe, like, and low key my hands are like dancing under the table, like outfit kind of thing.
You're
And like,
like, it's not about me. It's not about
yeah,
me.
I
It's
was
about
like,
the children.
oh my god, I need to control myself. But yeah, like I give it off to my grandma. Like I'm thankful and grateful that she really, she taught me at a young age. Because yeah, I don't know. I feel like yeah, if I couldn't see that, I'd be like dead. Like so dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be
Like something is missing if you
yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I think I remember there was a time when you were doing okay, please correct me because I know I'm going to say this wrong. Is it Ura Tabu Chigo.
Yes.
Is that, and so
Yes.
there was a time when you were doing that. Can you, because I follow them and I'm always in awe. Those dancers are just, I don't know, man. There's just something about, the teachers of that company, dance company, and the main dancers. It's just, it's like beautiful to watch. I'm always in awe. And can you share about what that experience was like for you when you were part of that?
Of course. So it's been a while since I've been back to Ura Tabu, but with Ura Tabu, for me, like it was the basics. Like we always went back to the basics. So we have like what we call blocks, which is kind of like terms within a year, and we have 4 different dances that we do. So we have a Samoa block, Tahitian, Cook Island, and Hawaiian. So we just finished a Samoan one, and we're moving into Cook Island Ura. And with each block, we always start with the fundamentals, which is like the basics. And like we try to nail the basics, and then we just like go off from there. Like you do like a simple move, but it would be like lean to the side, and it makes like the biggest difference. And we just kind of like focus on that one move. With Ura Tabu, it's really like it's being grounded. Like that's the main thing I think that differentiates them from, because it's not your typical dance group kind of thing,
Right?
like just finding a song and learning a dance and then performing it at a gig or an event. With Ura Tabu, like it's a whole process. You learn the fundamentals, and then we slowly merge into choreography. But even with choreography and the song choices, it's not random. There's always a reason why that song is chosen. And then we get the song translated. And then you just connect the moves with the words of the song, and it just makes sense. And it just flows. And that's just, another way of learning to really love that culture of dance that you're learning. And with with our tutors and instructors, they're really, invested in making sure that you are comfortable. With Ura Tabu, it's like come as you are kind of thing. If as you follow, we have women of all different shapes and sizes, and all from different cultural backgrounds. And with Ura Tabu, like you don't feel out of place. Like it's such a safe place that we girls are comfortable wearing a singlet to dance and kind of thing. Our thick girls are comfortable wearing singlets or a crop top, and just really like getting into it, getting sweaty, like without the judgment like of others. And even in the end, like after we dance, because our boss lady, she's a yoga instructor as well, so she also helps us to kind of like cool down, but in a safe way, like that your body is not like gonna be like bruised the next day.
Broken.
Can't walk. We really like focus on breathing, like how you breathe during your dance, your feet work, like it, like every part of your body plays a huge role in how you perform. And that's kind of what like Ura Tabu really showcases that, and you can see it in their performances. Like my experience has been so good. Like I'm always coming home like I've died ugly, like I've had a 1 hour sweaty session, but it's just, I love it because I'm dancing, but I'm also like, it's such a healthy way. It's my favorite way of exercising. Like I'd rather be dancing than like running on a treadmill kind of thing.
Right. I get that.
With Ura Tabu, it's just like you just gotta experience it to know kind of thing. It's so beautiful.
I mean, it looks beautiful. It looks almost like it's a spiritual awakening, especially when you watch some of the shows that the instructors and teachers have participated in. It's just, I'm always surprised because there's always something new, a move that I have not seen before, and I think that's why I'm so invested in following it. Like it's just like it's like next level dancing, expression, I guess, creative, outlet kind of thing. I was wondering what other types of dancing? Like, do you do salsa? I don't know. What other types of dancing do you like to do?
I wish I could say that like I can do hip hop, but
Oh yeah, I was
in
like,
my
are you
head,
like a break dancer? No.
in my head, I think I can do it, but yeah, don't ask me for a battle because yeah. For me, it's just Sāmoa, like any kind of cultural dancing. I really find the time to really know how to do it right. You know, because it's not the same as just moving your hips side to side kind of thing.
Right.
Like, you know, there's a whole lot like process to how you move your hips kind of thing. So I really take the time to invest in any kind of cultural dancing, like how it actually is meant to be. Growing up, I loved watching like Step Up or like Stomp the Yard. And I always thought like I could do that.
You're like, I'm gonna crump.
I used to like I love watching Paris Goebel and you know her dance crew, and I always like you know jokingly tell my family like yeah I have to go to my royal family practice kind of thing. It just laughs, but yeah, I love all kind of dancing. I'm not good at all of them, but definitely cultural dancing. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you if you have any plans to build community or share space where maybe you're teaching Siva Samoa or tutoring, creating choreography. Is that something that you have, like something you aspire to do, or right now are you just happy being a student?
I actually started. At first, I started just you know with family asking, like I get put on the spot, like, "Oh, Lom's gonna teach our dance for this wedding or this thing," and I was like, "Oh," but then I guess from there it kind of helped me to really like build a skill of like leadership of like teaching, and so with from family it branched off to like friends, like my close friends were like, oh, I just need a dance for you know my family's wedding, so I'd make up a dance and I'd send it to them, and then we kind of just like Zoom, or I'd go to them like if you know there was things to polish kind of thing, and then I started posting it just because I just started posting like my dances or like the things that I choreograph, and then I started getting like other people asking like, oh, do you teach Siva Samoa, blah blah blah. I was like, ooh. So with I have a little business, and one of my services that I offer is Siva Samoa choreography. So you know I can choreograph a dance for you. You know there are terms and conditions, but lately it's just family. So some of my family some of them I've just met this year, and you know they've asked for a dance for an event coming up. So you know I travel to them, and even like you know teaching, I try to like I'm not just teaching you a dance kind of thing. Like it's one thing to learn a dance, but it's one thing to really like give the dance justice. And like with the people that I've been choreographing dances for is like this is the move, but you like how are you gonna do the move kind of thing, you know, like you have to really kind of give the move justice. Like it's not just you know stand there and put your hands in the air. Like are you pointing to the sky, or are you talking about somebody? Like there is always a meaning behind a move kind of thing. And I always kind of emphasize with the people that I teach, like you really got to give this dance, like you really got to put emotion into it, you know, like I say, like it's one thing to learn it, but it's one thing to kind of like give it to people, like, you know. So yeah, so that's been one. I have as a service, I've kind of offered to, you know, come up with a choreography for you. It takes time. Like it's funny the amount of people that think, you know, you can just do a dance overnight. Like, you know, they ask for it tonight and expect it tomorrow. I was like, I wish I had that.
Does that?
I wish I had that superpower, but I do not. But I have, it was one of the goals and dreams I had with my grandpa before he passed, before I entered like the pageant, and that I always had this dream and goal to open up my own kind of dance studio, academy kind of thing. But you know, in New Zealand, like we're so culturally based, like there's so many Siva Samoa academies. It's taken me a while to open up one or like start an academy. Only because I've been trying to think like what would make mine different to the ones that already exist nowadays. Like they're all, they all have their own different touch and flavor. There's, something that makes one academy different to the other, but it's all for the love of the culture, and it's all for Siva Samoa. I don't want to add another academy when there's like one down the road kind of thing, so it's been a game, it's been a love and hate game with, myself trying to plan, like, do I still go ahead with it or not? But I definitely, like, it is in the books. Like, I definitely want to, teach Siva Samoa, just because I don't want this cultural tradition to die out kind of thingy. Like, we really want our traditions to live on to the next generation. And with Siva Samoa, I still have a lot to learn. So I still consider myself a student. And, this is seen by how I go to Ura Tabu, or like I learn from, other creatives. But I also want to share what I know, like I don't want to be selfish and keep it to myself, because it's not going to do me any good. Like, so yeah, opening a academy has been a goal. It's still in the books. Just gonna put it on the side for now. But yeah, it's kind of coming out just through my little service, through my business. But yeah, that's all I've got to show you.
Wow, that's the perfect lead on to our next. Yeah, let's talk about, you are a small business owner, which, we say, okay, this person's a small business owner, but the amount of work, time and dedication that goes into actually designs and creating and actually coming up with something that is unique to you, and really what you're bringing to your customers, new customers. So tell us about your business, the name, how did it start?
Cool. So my business is called Teines Creations, and just with the name, growing up, my nickname was Teine. So Teine in Samoan just means girl. But growing up, my mom and her siblings, and even a lot of my aunties and uncles at church, they called me Teine. I don't know where that came from, but anytime I hear it, I just like suddenly like it's like it's me. Like I know that's like another name associated with me, and so Teines, So when with my business, it first started off. I had these like resources like shells and things, and I was always, anytime I get ready to go to an event, I can never find like the right earrings to go with my outfits kind of thingy. And I was literally just sitting in my room playing with like these shells, and I was like, oh my gosh, I made some earrings kind of thingy. And like, my family just like, oh cool, I was like, oh okay. But then I wore it with like anytime I had an event, like those were my go-to earrings kind of thing. And it kind of it just went with anything, which I loved. And so I started playing around and just like making other designs with, these shells. And that's where Teines Creations kind of came out of. So I basically sell earrings, and they're all handmade. Like I make them myself. And say hair clips. It was my for family. We had a wedding. One of our cousins got married, and for me and my cousins and all the girls, my cousins asked me, "Oh, can you make a say just for our uniform?" And so there were like 10, 11 of us, and I made like all of us these say hair clips. And from that wedding, people were like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And my cousin's like, "Did you do this yourself?" I was like, "Of course." Of course I did. And from there, I just, I just started playing around with says. I got it from my grandma too. My grandma can never leave the house without a say. Like, like it's not just any say. She really loves her like big says. Like, for her, it's like go big or go home. And, so I kind of got that off her. Like anytime, even if I'm just going to church, like I always have to like look for a say that kind of goes with my outfit. So yeah, from there I kind of played around with the says and like, started making these other designs for hair clips. And then my family were like, "Oh, why don't you sell those? Like, can help you, financially and things." I was like, "Oh, okay." So that's where Teines Creations kind of came out of. It was just, like me sitting in my room, kind of like trying to come up with something that was innovative and I could use anywhere. And that's where like Teines Creations was born from. But with my business, people think I order the things like my products, not knowing like I literally sit there and will like like
every
do
little part is like
everything, and like every hour counts kind of thing. So that's where Teines Creations came out of. And I also added a service, my Siva Samoa service. And so it basically just started this year in March. And it's come a very long way since then. I started doing like Mother's Day boxes. I was trying to get creative. Like, how can I like, for me, like these accessories kind of just help to, like, I like everyone is already beautiful. My earrings and my creations kind of just like, like help complete your look kind of thing. Like, and I was just like, if it takes you a while to find an earring that goes, like, here, I got one, kind of thing. You need to save for your next ball Siva, like, I got you. So that's where my business kind of came out of.
And then, with your earrings, you have names, right, for particular styles. And I was wondering, how did you choose the names? Like, is it,
funny with so one of my earrings is, I should have worn them, but one of my earrings is they're shells, but it kind of makes a flower. And just straight away I just thought of my grandma, with her says and the earring looking like a flower. And because I was trying to think of how to differentiate my earrings, like how would I know what people want, and in case they're like, oh, can I have the earring that looks like a flower, or can I have the one shell earring? And I was like, those are like, they're kind of boring names kind of thing. So when I made that association with the flower and my grandma, I was like, oh, why don't I just name them after, the ladies in my life? And just being, because, well, at the moment, as far as I know, like girls are the ones wearing the earrings. But I have had, some guys, even my boy cousins, like, do you have any like men's selection? I was like, so being Teines, being a girl kind of business, it was fitting for me to, pay homage to the women who play a big part in my life by just naming one of my earrings after them. And it's been like very touching when people order, like when people DM me and they're like, can I have one of your vailuangas? Can I have two of your langis kind of thing? And it's just like, oh, like, just have my little like, oh my gosh moment. But so, and like, it just adds to the fact that like these are the women who helped me become the woman that I am today. So it was just fitting. And so a lot of the ladies in my family are like, so what's my earring gonna look like? Okay, hold on.
Sorry, that's next year's that's for next year's release.
The woman,
when you create something, you really are putting yourself out there to be critiqued. Just with anything, whether it's through performance or through clothes, or in this case accessories, earrings. How have you managed to stay true to who you are while building this business, right? Because it's very easy, we just to kind of get caught up in the moment and then lose sight of why you started this. So
and with that as well, like, because with lockdown, everyone kind of was looking for a means to make ends meet, and just building a business was kind of like the way to go with with lockdown, and it's kind of carried on up till now. And there has been times when I've kind of like hit like a hurdle. I kind of had like a little self-doubt, just because I was seeing one of my good friends who owns another business, she was really like posting a lot, and she was getting a lot of orders. And human nature, you can't help but think, oh, like, my business is not as good as hers, or it's not booming as fast as hers is, kind of thing. So I've had those kind of moments, but because with my business, when I make orders, because I can't drive, so and then my family also help within my business. So there's someone who will always drive me to deliver my orders, or there's someone who will come with me to go so I can buy the things to make my orders. There's when we had the Mother's Day boxes, my grandma and my auntie stayed up with me and they helped make the little things that were inside the boxes. And that was kind of like my reminder of why this business is going the way that it is. Like it's going slowly, but it's going, like that was the main thing for me. Like even if I only had one order a day, I was grateful that I had an order. It wasn't really the quantity of orders that I was getting, but I was trying to make sure that I was giving a good quality through my products. And so I guess the impact of my family in helping me with this business, it's always been a reminder whenever I'm comparing myself to other businesses that like keep going on your own path, kind of thing. Like Teines Creations is not the same as this other business, kind of thing. Like we may both sell earrings, but my family, like people might not know that my family helped me with these earrings. Like these earrings are named after people in my family. So those are the kind of like little things that bring me back to in my lane. kind of thing.
Well, I mean, just again, as you mentioned, and these are the stories that people don't hear about small businesses. It's that support crew, it's the people behind the face and the designer, right? The creative. So, it's cool to hear you, share that and just really, give your family flowers, because all those actions and the way that they're part of the process, it's very important. That's really cool. Do you hope that maybe one day you have a shop, or like obviously long term, you just started this year, but I feel like it seems like you've been going for ages. Ideally, would you like to sell in a community space, or what's a possible dream that you might have in terms of growing Teines Creations?
With long term, I did kind of think of opening a shop, a little shop. But I know with that, it comes with a lot of investment, into this business, and kind of like being consistent with it, because not gonna lie, there are times where like I may have orders that are due like in the weekend, but in my headspace, I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore, kind of thingy. Like I'm too tired, especially, everyone has, we've got work and school, church practice, other commitments. And then, with the business, especially because it's like, it's my labor that's going into it. There are times where I'm just like, oh, like, I don't want to do it. Like, can someone else do it, kind of thing. But thinking long term, I have thought of opening a shop. It came about when I was thinking of my academy, my Sāmoa Academy.
Right.
I guess my academy is kind of like my main idea I'm kind of focusing on, but it would be nice to have the shop, there, as a bonus, like, if for the parents who are waiting or something, like, if I've got your kid for practice, you can browse around the shop, kind of thing. And like, that's kind of been like a cool dream in my head. Definitely need a lot of money for that, but nothing's impossible.
Yeah. But it's a prayer, all in good time, all in God's time. It's just so it's interesting that you say that, and it kind of like leads me on to this Miss Sāmoa journey. You knew we're gonna go there. We're eventually gonna get there. And you are a risk taker. I mean, you had a dream, you stepped out of your comfort zone and you pursued it. So when did that dream to enter Miss Sāmoa New Zealand begin for you?
It started at a very young age, probably 7. I I I don't know how, but I always just knew that it was Miss Sāmoa season kind of thing. And I was always like ready on YouTube for, the videos or sitting in front of the TV, just like seeing the fact that at first it's just women, like it's a women's platform. And then secondly, a Samoan women's platform. Like we don't have many of those. So seeing that, like automatically, like my heart was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, kind of thing. Like I was so proud to be a tama'ita'i Samoa, seeing that there is a platform for, such women as us. And then just with the categories, like, seeing the creativity of like the designers in the pulitsasis and sarongs, traditional wears that the girls were wearing, I was like, oh my gosh. And just also the fact that the girls were so beautiful. I'm just like, what? And then, seeing the talents and just seeing the whole buzz around, like the crowning and the placings. I was like, man, that's so cool. And then every year, I never missed a Miss Sāmoa, like whether it was a Miss Sāmoa New Zealand or a Miss Sāmoa Australia or the Miss Sāmoa pageant, I was always watching it. And even throughout the year, like if I'm just sitting at home, I just always go, like that's just my thing to watch on YouTube kind of thing. Like it's my go-to was the pageants. And it didn't just stop at the pageant. Like after the pageant was finished, I like to I follow the person on Facebook or Instagram just to kind of keep up with, how they're using the platform. And for me, like when I was a little girl, like after my first or second one I've seen, I was like, man, I wanna be on that stage kind of thing. And so the dream was always there. At first it was the age, like you have to be 18. So I was like, oh wait till I'm 18 and then I'll see. And then I was 18 and at the time we were living in Australia, and I was like, and being the eldest, I was like, I didn't feel like this is the right time for this. So, like keep going, like the years went by. And then I came back to New Zealand, and people always ask like, why did you ever think of just going straight to Samoa? And I did, but for me, it was like I wanted to start at home kind of thing. I wanted to start with my own home-based pageant. Just because like for me, like everything starts at home. Like, growing up in New Zealand, I wanted to, do it for New Zealand kind of thingy. So yeah, the dream was always there. At first it was the age, and then after that it was like, how do I tell my family? Like, would my family be supportive? Like, would they actually like help me do it, or would they be like, don't do it, like we don't have the money, or that's a waste of time kind of thingy. So yeah, this year, it was last year, I told my grandpa. So he's kind of like my go-to. Everything kind of goes through him first before I tell anybody else. And he told me, he was like, the time will come, like there will be a time for you, like you will do it. I know you will, and your time will come. It's not now. So this was last year, and I was like, okay. And then this year the call out came, and I was like, I was always like drawn to it, but I never did like anything about it. And like weeks went by, and the closing date for the applications was getting close. And then my grandpa passed, and I totally forgot about it. And then it was like, oh, final call, anyone who wants to join. And I was like, like I just felt like something was nudging me to like do it, like, do it now. Like, and so I actually applied before I told my family. So like, if I got through and then my family didn't want me to do it, in my head I was like, I'm still gonna do it because like I got through kind of thing. But yeah, so I applied with the hopes that it would happen, but it wasn't really like heavily, like I wasn't really heavily thinking about it. And then I was shocked when I actually, got told, oh, you're a finalist. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell my family. So yeah, I told my family like 2 weeks after I found out I was a finalist, and like their reaction, I was just like, man, like God really gave me these people. Like, you know, like for me, I was kind of so I told my grandma first, and I was kind of scared how she would take it. And like, but I was ready for like her colorful words and, you know, her nice facials. And I told her, but I caught her off guard, and like her reaction, like she just cried, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's yes. And she was like, okay, we have to get ready now, kind of thing. And you know, for me first, it was just like the joy of telling my family. I was just like, guys, I'm a finalist, like, you know, and they were just so supportive and like, oh my gosh, you know, we've got heaps of work to do, blah blah blah. And it didn't really hit me like how much preparation, but also how much you know, preparing for this takes on your family, like how much it has, not on your family, but also your villages and supporters. Like it's, you know, it's everyone just like, oh, it's Miss Sāmoa New Zealand kind of thing, but it's such a big thing to prepare for. Like it's bigger than anyone expects. There's so much time that goes into this, and there's practices that you have to go to, things you have to buy, you know, measurements you have to go get done. Those are just your own individual ones, and then you have the ones you have together with, you know, the other contestants and with the team. And from day one, like my family have always been like, do you need anything? You know, like they've always just kind of been supportive. Sometimes I'm like, you know, they're always in your face, and I'm just like, oh, I'm fine. Like I just need some space. But like getting closer to the day, everyone, like you could see the excitement that everyone had, and I was like, man, like these, like I'm really doing it for these people, and like they really, you know, they went through all of this, you know, just for me, just for my dream. And I was like, man, like who am I for these kind of like, you know, for my people to really go all out for me. And yeah, so the New Zealand journey, you know, the pageant happened, and then it was just like go from there. Like it took me like 2 weeks to like for it to actually settle in that I won the thing. Like because after I was crowned, it was just like interview after interview.
Right.
It was going to visit, you know, going to church and having a moment at church doing
Yeah.
speeches. Even with family gatherings, like all of a sudden I wasn't in the kitchen, like I was sitting on the head table. And it was just so weird. Like, you know, there's so much changes that happen with it. And you kind of don't have the time to really sit and like think about it. You just kind of learn on the way kind of thing. And that's what it's been for me. I like, you know, with family, like even if it's just my uncles, I always have to give like a thank you speech at the end of, you know, our stuff. And it's been a really good learning experience, you know, being put on the spot, using the language and kind of like saying a thank you. Because then, you know, from there it goes to doing it in front of the church. From there it goes to doing it on the Samoan stage, you know, doing it in front of the villages. And it's just like, man, like you really don't have time to think about it. Like, you know, it's just go. But for me, like I always kind of knew, like, you know, the preparation that comes after your crown kind of thingy. So I've been enjoying the experience, you know, a lot of learning, but I've just been like, man, my younger self has been dreaming of this. Like I can't actually believe that it's actually happened to me. I'm just like, man, this is so cool. Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about just Miss Sāmoa New Zealand, can like how just that feeling of being on that stage, you know, for the different categories, but looking out and seeing your villagers, your support crew, the people who are just really just keeping you grounded and all that. Like, what is that feeling like? And the reason I ask this is because you've already shared so many things over the last few minutes, which is really behind the scenes that social media shows us snippets of your journey. But what's really cool is that you're sharing things that like I didn't even know, you know, just in terms
Yeah.
of the actual journey and the process and just all that behind the scenes. So when you're on that stage, you know, during the Miss Sāmoa New Zealand and you're looking out, I mean, how difficult was it for you to not break down and really cry because you're seeing so much love from your people?
I had that moment after. So, you know, I was crowned and we came backstage just before like I walked out to my village, I had that moment. I had my cry. But as you said, every time I went out on the stage, the first time I came out on the stage, I couldn't, like, I could see bits of people, but I didn't know where everyone was sitting. It wasn't until we started dancing and like the screaming, the cheering from everyone, like for me, my body literally like shook. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like there was so many people, the roof of the house was gonna fall down. But just hearing the support, I was like, oh my gosh, like these people really turned out for me. And that support like really pushed me to give 110% every time I walked out. Just knowing, because every time I walked out at first, everyone was sitting. And then after that, I just see like all these people standing at the back, like, and they were all my village, like just standing at the back. And it just made me so proud. Like, I was like, man, these are the very people who've played a part in my life. And seeing them out there, I was like, I'm carrying them with me on that stage, kind of thing. It was hard to not break down on the stage, just because like I was so proud, not only because I was doing the thing that I loved, on the stage, and I was living the 7-year-old Lom's dream, but it was also the support, like, and just seeing my family, like my whiwhiao and them were there, my grandparents, my grandma, my dad, just seeing my family within the audience smiling. I was like, man, I hope they're proud of me, kind of thing, like I'm really doing this for my family. And so every time I came out, it was like I got like an extra 10% boost, to be able to. So I was, after each category, I was walking out like more confident than the category before, kind of thing. Like I was walking out, my head was higher than it was in the last category. And just like when we got to the placings and, doing the awards, I kind of just stood there. And at first I was trying to catch my breath, but I was really just trying to soak it in. Like I'm literally standing on the stage that I've always been watching. And I was like, man, this is what it feels like, And like, regardless of whatever the outcome was going to be, I was just content that I did it. Like, I went out on the stage, and in my heart, I was like, I hope those people got what I was trying to show them. Like, I really just showed them who Shilohm is, and I really hope they got that kind of thing. That was all that was going through my head. Yeah, the atmosphere was so, like, it was buzzing. I came backstage and I'm smiling, but I'm just like literally like all the tears from the preparation and from that night, like it was all bottled up, and then it just came out. Yeah, it was just a lot of, I was just really proud.
Then you go to Samoa, and was the schedule very intense, meaning there was a small amount of time where lots of events and things had to happen? Like what was that like?
With Samoa, like so on our first day we got this booklet, and it was kind of like our Bible for the week. It already had like the schedule of like, where we're going on Monday, where we're going on Tuesday, the time slots, and then there was like 2 or 3 hours break, and then it would be like practice. And some days, like, our rehearsals will start at 7 and they'd finish at like 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. So some days we'd be at one event for the whole day. Other days we'd be going to 2 different places within like 4 hours, kind of thing. And then we'd have like a big break, only because they knew we were going to have a longer rehearsal, kind of thing. So the schedule with Samoa, like, it was already laid out, but even on the days that, we had things scheduled, sometimes things didn't go to plan or they didn't start on time. So even though we had a schedule, it was also like play by the ear kind of thingy. But we were always on the go. Yeah, there was always something.
How exciting was it to meet the other contestants in Samoa, other young women like yourselves, proud Samoan women. And I, what was it like to build and in a short amount of time, like build community and share space with them. Because again, social media only shows us snippets, and yeah. So
Meeting them, at first I was like, oh, are these girls, like, I know everyone's friendly, but I was like, and also knowing it's a competition, like I didn't know what to expect from the other girls. Like, would they be open and outgoing, or are they like eyeing out, are we eyeing out each other? What's the go? I know from the first day, everyone was, really focused because we had to choose our number of what our appearance and also our topic for our interview category. So you could feel the
tension.
Everyone was, everyone was like, I want number one, or like I want this kind of thing. And then it wasn't so after the formalities, us girls kind of sat down and we just clicked straight away. I guess it also helped that we were all within a similar age category. So, we're all like, we just all like clicked straight away, and it was really cool. We're all from different backgrounds, not only coming from different countries and whatnot, but we all have different upbringings and backgrounds. But it was just the fact, this pageant kind of brought us together. It was cool. It was a competition, but from it, we've built this really strong friendship. Like even up till now, we're still keeping in contact. We've made plans together of how we can like help each other with our reigns, within the year. And it just goes to show that, even though it's a competition, like we built a sisterhood out of this kind of thing. And so with the girls, we just clicked straight away. Our age group, it really helped. And just knowing that, like, as you said, like social media only shows what we want it to show. Like, it only shows what we put out there. But behind the scenes, like, especially with rehearsals or when we're at other events, there are times when like there's a girl that's tired or there's a girl who's hungry. That was probably me, but like us as sisters, like we knew, like, because we're all going through this journey together, like we know what's happening, and just knowing that we had each other to kind of lean on. So if someone was like looking tired, we just gave a nudge, like smile, there's a camera, kind of thing. Or if someone was hungry, someone always had like a water, or like and that was like the beauty, like for me, that was the beauty that came out of it. It was like this journey that I got with these group of girls that I had never known before, and like we're as close as ever, kind of thing. And that's what I'm grateful that I took out of this pageant. I was like, I got new sisters, kind of thing. And with the experience, it's like people don't see that we have each other to lean on. Like sometimes someone is crying, just from the pressure of preparing for this big pageant, especially after COVID. This is the first pageant we've had since lockdown, and so there was that pressure, like, oh my gosh, we got to put on a really good show, kind of thing. But it was just, it's nice that we all had each other to like kind of push us back. And
I appreciate you sharing this. As I've been saying, social media shows only a part of the journey. And as with our people, we know like there's backlash, there's people typing with their chest and everything out. If you can do that, I don't know, maybe not. And so, I like that you've been able to share, that sometimes it's not, there are contestants really struggling. We don't see the moods and the emotions that each of you are going through, and just the challenges that come with being in the spotlight, and having only certain things about you highlighted, whether it's an article or whether it's an interview. And so I think it's super important that you've mentioned this, because I think part of I really have never watched like I'm sorry people, but I've never watched the pageant till this year, or pageants. And I think it's very easy as viewers, as the audience, to forget the humanity, the that you've mentioned a sisterhood, but just that, you are all young women who've really put yourselves out there. And it's just not the easiest thing to do. You know, when you take a step out of your comfort zone and you're putting a part of you out there, but still trying to protect parts of you that you don't want to put out there, like that, I imagine can be very overwhelming. And I think sometimes people forget, you know, the humanity of it all, and just because people are too busy like clashing online. So I think, you know, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, for sharing that part of the journey. You know, if you could give words of encouragement for someone who is perhaps wanting to enter Miss Sāmoa New Zealand or the Miss Sāmoa pageant next year, what would you say? Because you've said, you know, these are some of the lessons I've taken away. What would you say to them?
I think the biggest thing would be to not get so caught up in, you know, what I'm trying to say is, you know, with the pageant, I see sometimes people get the notion that it's all beauty, like it's the outer appearance. Of course, like everyone is beautiful. With like my best advice would be, you know, just be yourself, because you know, no matter, like once you enter the pageant, everything that you're doing reflects on you. You may have a team, and you may have you know, like family, you know, who are helping you, but in the end it all comes down to you, like whether it be like through speeches or through a talent or anything that you do, like whether, you know, you're getting help from people, take the help that you can, but also keep in mind you can't do everything, you know, like like do what you're most comfortable with, like just be yourself. If you're doing a speech, you know, and you know, it's like awkward and you like to crack jokes, crack a joke, you know, like that's what kind of puts you different to the other girls, you know, like you may think it's awkward, or someone might think like, oh, don't do that, like kind of thing. But if that's how people are going to remember you, and if that's what best, you know, like shows who you are, then, you know, do it, like be yourself. Because like there's no use in trying to be like somebody else, because then, you know, you don't really stand out, kind of thing, like and it's tiring, like, you know, putting on a face, you know, trying to be something that you're not, like yeah, I think for me, like your superpower is you, like there is no one else like you. And so for me, it's just like really like showing that power. And that's what I try to do, you know, with my experience with the Samoa pageant. You know, there are times when like I'd always like crack jokes with the girls, or I would crack a joke about like the committee or something, you know, just to like lessen the tension in the room, kind of thing. And then there are also times when I'm just sitting back and just like listening and being observant. Like it really just depends, but that's on you. Like you know what to do. Like but yeah, my biggest advice would, first of all, like if it's something that you always wanted to do, go for it. Like if, like no matter the outcome, like the fact that you put yourself out there, like that'll really make you a winner. I mean, you hear it a lot, but it really like it hits you like once you've done it, like, you know, like if you know kind of thing. So yeah, for one, go for it, and for two, and secondly, just be yourself. Like that's your superpower. That would be my advice.
Okay, I can't not mention this glam squad. Sorry, I'm not really in tune with makeup and stuff, but I'm calling it the glam squad. Can you shout out your glam squad, the people who just from the outfits to getting you I don't even know the terms. Like getting you all shushed up. Okay, that's not even a word. But you know,
Yeah.
tell us about the wonderful team that you had with you and across the whole experience of the pageant in New Zealand, and then obviously going back to the homeland.
So with first of all, with the New Zealand pageant, it was family. My family did everything for me. So my glam during like, you know, the interviews and stuff, it was done by my now good friend. His name is Loa Mahe. He's Tongan actually, but he did my makeup for the pageant night. And for sometimes if I had an interview, like a last minute interview or photo shoot, as well as my auntie, Lalango Melisia, my offals for the pageant here was done by Selengi, one of my aunties or cousin, one of them. Yeah, so it was done by Selengi. She designed. We kind of sat down and talked like, what do you want for your puletasi? Like, what's your ideas? So I just like gave it to her, and then she just went off sketching, and like it was more than I gave. I was like, oh, and like the sketches were already beautiful, and then like seeing it come to life, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to wear that, kind of thing. I was like, so yeah, so Selengi did all my costumes from my sarong, my opening number to my talent wear. Yeah, shout out to Lengi, as well as my auntie Sarah. She's kind of like the brain in our group, so she helped me prep for my interviews. She kind of gave me a guide, and with my speeches, and she's always like, speak louder or put your head up, kind of thing.
She's so a teacher. Shout out to Sarah. Yeah. Mad love to the sister. She's a teacher, man. That's what's up.
She's a teacher. So yeah, that was my critic for like, everything wordy and stuff. And then my biggest shout out is to my manager, my auntie Lotte, my mom's sister. She kind of took on the role of, doing everything. So, she's my chaperone, she's my Uber, she's my shoulder if I need to cry. She's my bank if I'm hungry.
Oh, shout out to Lotte, man. That's hard work. It's hard work, man.
She wears all the hats. So yeah, she's my manager. And then for Samoa, shout out to Lalele. They did all my outfits. They sponsored all my outfits, my puletasis that I wore, even my puletasi I wore on pageant night, and my sarong. Thank you. A lot of people were like, oh my gosh, you did your awful. And I was like, Lalele in New Zealand. Yeah, so shout out to Regina and the fam. My makeup, my glam team were from Samoa. So my hair was done by Shilohm. Love her. She works at Piazza Salon. So shout out to Shilohm. And my makeup was done by Lani, Leilani. So yeah, even with me, like I don't wear makeup. I don't actually know how to do makeup either. Since being in a pageant, like every day is makeup in here. Like my hair is like so stiff from all the hairspray. Like by the end of the night, I'm like fighting, trying to smooth it out. And like every day, my face is like there's something on. But with Lani, like the makeup's on, but it feels like there's nothing on, which is like which is what I loved. So yeah, shout out to Lani and Lom. Even after the pageant, they literally were like friends who became family. Like we've just kind of gotten this strong bond with them. So yeah, love them. And my manager came with me too. So shout out to my I cannot go like anywhere without her. Yeah, she's been the biggest. Like sometimes even when I was slowly like losing focus or like I just wasn't thinking straight, she kind of just like gave it to me like straight up, and like sometimes it would have been nice to get it like softly, but grateful, like I'm glad I had her by my side. So that was my team, as well as the Miss Sāmoa New Zealand committee, Tia, who's the director, and Tia, who's the accountant. So they came along as well. But yeah, I had a really strong team, and I also had people who helped me with my talent. Shout out to my music team.
Cool, man. Earlier this year, I had Dr. Jemima Tia on the podcast, and she is the Pro Vice Chancellor Pacifica at the University of Auckland. Now, the reason I bring her up is because she said when she attends university and community events, her power suit is a puletasi. So a power suit says that this person is confident, strong, that they are there to dominate and to influence, right? Now, in your opinion, what is it about wearing a puletasi that exudes strength, power, boldness, and confidence as a tama'ita'i Samoa?
I think for one, like the fact that it's our cultural wear, like that's what that's what, like, you know, the first thing people see you wearing a puletasi, oh, she's an islander, you know. And just being an islander, I think that's like that's a power, like, you know, that's a superpower in itself. But with puletasi, like, besides the fact that it's your, like, you're wearing your cultural identity, like you're literally wearing your cultural identity, it also, for me, it shows confidence, because, well, for me, my grandma sews, like she sews a lot of my puletasi. So when I'm wearing my puletasi, I'm kind of reflecting her, and you know, she adds to my confidence and she adds to my power. So you know, she's my strong suit. So whenever I'm wearing her off, like an outfit that she's made, I'm just like, yo, my grandma made this, you know, like I'm confident to be able to be like,
don't mess with me.
You don't want to miss the lady who did this. Yeah, so it's not only the person who made it, the fact that, you know, it's your cultural identity. Those what make the puletasi for me a strong suit. And just like I just love, like, if I could wear it every day, I would. But like, yeah, it's such a, and the beauty of it is, like, it could be like something you can wear to an event, like, you know, if it was like a formal occasion, you could wear a puletasi or a dress, you know, done in island fabric. Like, it's so, like, there's so much things you could do with a puletasi, and, you know, it just goes to show if the person that's wearing it, they could do so much, you know. Yeah.
Well said, well answered. So, you know, how are you dealing, you know, if we think about the responsibility that comes with your role now, you are a role model. How are you dealing with being a public figure now and being recognized out in public?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so funny because when and I think that's on me, but so with the New Zealand one, you know, I was like, oh nah, like no one, because I wear glasses, like I originally wear glasses, but I didn't wear it for this in case no one recognized me. But you know, as soon as the New Zealand pageant finished, like I was wearing glasses, and I was like, oh, you know, I was wearing my casual clothes, and like I'm just, you know, eating however. And my auntie was just like, and it's like sometimes it really like got me when, you know, I'm sitting in the mall and people are just like walking past, like
look at her pigging out.
I'm just like, oh my gosh. And like it's for me, it's the way they're like looking at you, like just to make sure it's you, like, oh my gosh, it's her kind of thingy. Sometimes it's like they're walking with their phone, like slowly, and you can just see it, like in the corner, because you know I know they're gonna ask for a photo, and me, I'm sitting there like in my hoodie and like my jeans, and I'm eating like with my hands, and I'm just like, oh, I don't think this is a good image for me. And that was the thing with New Zealand, and then going to Samoa. You know, in Samoa, everyone knows everyone. Yeah. And so we went there a week before the actual pageant started, and you know, just to settle in and things. So me and my auntie will be going to the markets, and I'm just wearing like a dress, I have a nice dress, because like even before leaving the house, my auntie's like, your reputation, like, you know, your image, like everyone is, you know, the eyes are on you, and I'm just like, oh, like I can't be bothered, you know, kind of thing. Like, no one's gonna recognize me, like it's just casual. Like the minute you step out of a taxi and like, you know, like people know that you're not a local, like, you know, when you're at the markets. I don't know if it's because of the way we dress or but as soon as like you walk in the markets, like everyone's heads just turn, and like they just know, and like I can hear, because you know how we're not very we don't have inside voices. I can just hear, like, you know, the ladies like, oh, you got Miss Lalia, blah blah blah, or like, you know, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like sometimes it gets overwhelming, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like go home, like, you know, kind of thing. But it's always funny because like after a while, like you kind of get used to it. And you know, in Samoa, like, you know, we just like, we're not really like fork and knife people kind of thing. Yeah. But when the pageant started, like, you know, that was one of the things we got told, the girls at our briefing, like, when you're out in public, you know, not only dress appropriately, but, you know, eat in small portions. You know, like, use it. And I was like, what? Like, in my
you're
head,
like, what, le maonga?
So even if there's like a bread, we have to use like the knife and fork, like kind of thing, like, you know, just kill how you eat. But they didn't say small portions to like, cut, like,
Yeah.
they were like, you can go and get more, but, do it in small portions. Like, don't have a small plate and your
do it
food's
nicely.
oh my god, it's gonna be hard. Like, yeah. And it was, but it was funny because then after the pageant, like, because it became such a habit, like I started eating knife and fork with like, things that you can just use your hands with, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to stop. Look what it's done. But yeah, and like even going out in public, like we'll just be going to like the shop down the road just to get a drink, and even the shopkeepers are like, "Wait, my lord, Miss," like your name suddenly becomes Miss, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's even now, like when I step out of the house, like I have to double check with my grandma or my auntie, like, is this okay? Like what I'm wearing. Even going to church, like make sure it's a nice ear, like it's auli. My t-shirt's
auli awful, man.
Oh man. Yeah, but like I said, like it's the things that come with the role. So
yeah, and we live in the day and age of like paparazzi, like
right?
our people's, man.
Yes.
Just
suddenly my photos on Facebook and I'm like eating a kekepua, like
dribbling down the side.
Yeah.
Oh man. So has it been a week since you returned? No. It's been a week and a bit since a week.
A week yesterday since I came
since you've returned to New Zealand from the Miss Sāmoa pageant, from our homeland. What are you most looking forward to as you begin your reign as Miss Sāmoa New Zealand, over the next few months?
Yeah. I guess it's really, I'm just really like, I'm ready to like get down and dirty, like, just like get to work. In terms of work, I don't know what that looks like. Because so we have projects and events coming up. Sometimes you're notified the day of or the day before. With this role, like you just always have to be ready, like expect the unexpected. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the projects that the committee are planning, and hoping to really get my foot in with the community and just trying to leave my mark, like just a lot that I want to do in very little time.
Yeah. I mean, it's already under a year, like and months fly by so quickly. So well, that's exciting. And then in terms of, you are a God-fearing woman, how does faith inform the decisions that you make in your everyday life?
To be honest, sometimes just because of like how fast-paced everything is, like a decision is just made on the spot kind of thingy. But if I do get the chance where they're like, just think of like, have a think about it kind of thingy. I really pray on it. I'm just like, especially like if I'm told like have a think about it, it's usually because it's something big. And just with the role, like human nature, you don't want to make a mistake kind of thingy. I heavily pray on, just give me some clarification, like what do you want me to do, or what's right, what's wrong kind of thingy. Definitely prayer has been a big part of making decisions, as well as getting insight from like my spiritual parents, or my brothers and sisters in Christ. Like if it's something relative to the youth, like if it's something to do with the youth, I'd get insight from them, like, oh, what do you think, or like if this was for you, like how would you, just to kind of make sense of things. But definitely prayer is the biggest part in like making decisions, with my faith.
Do you have a favorite verse that kind of like is always uplifting and kind of keeps you going, especially through those overwhelming and just really challenging times?
There's a verse in Corinthians, and it's let all that you do be done in love. And for me, like, if you're not going to do something out of love, don't do it at all, because it's not going to end well, like, or it's not going to come in the result that you wanted it to. And that's the biggest thing for me. Like a lot of the things I do, like I make sure that I'm doing it out of love, or I'm doing it for the ones that I love. Like love is like the thing that kind of like pushes me to do things wholeheartedly. Otherwise, my other favorite verse is Philippians 4, verse 13. Oh my gosh. And it's I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And it's that's been like kind of the backbone of my journey, like this whole pageant thing. It's like it's first started off like I really wanted to do it, but I was also doubtful, like I don't know how it's gonna turn out, look, or like I don't know if I'm up to it kind of thingy. But it's just knowing that I got Jesus, like I got this kind of thing. Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier you like singing, and I was wondering, do you have a favorite pese loku or favorite hymn? That's the one, the go-to.
Definitely pese 370, and I used it in my New Zealand talent. But it's one of my favorites, only because my grandpa, every time we do locals, like that's his go-to song. And so it was like my sort of way of paying honoring him in my talent, using that song. And just because it's like go local in my head. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite hymns.
So, I always ask the guests when they come on the show about self-care, because, all the guests are usually busy, they're just out there impacting lives and just really smashing their goals, eh? And I was wondering, for you, when it comes to self-care, what do you struggle with the most?
Definitely sleep. So it was already like a challenge before the pageant, but now even with the pageant, like it's become harder, just because I'd be up longer doing things, or I'd be going to sleep later. Yeah, it's just finding time to sleep. So I'm always like napping like throughout the day, but in a way it kind of like affects the productivity of my work.
Right.
So sleep is definitely one of my biggest challenges in terms of self-care, and it shows sometimes. I didn't know, but sometimes like my auntie says, like you can see it on my face, like if you're out in public or doing something, you can just see I'm like unbothered and I just want to sleep. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But yeah, definitely sleep.
And then what are your favorite things to do to disconnect from the stress and craziness? It doesn't have to be, I know you're a creative, I know you love to dance, but what are some other things you like to do to treat yourself?
For me, like I don't really like spending, but like if I do have the means to, like I like to go get my nails done. If not, I just like to listen to music and just like lie there, like just being like zoning out of the world, like disconnecting, so I can connect to myself and everything. Otherwise, it's food. Food is my comfort.
Yeah. But you gotta eat with your knife and fork now, huh? Just saying.
Always.
Okay, so book recommendations. Do you have any book recommendations? Maybe a favorite childhood book? Yeah.
In terms of childhood books, I loved reading Geronimo Stilton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so but with Geronimo Stilton, it's like a series, and like when we were in high school, in high school, we like you'd go like collecting, like try to read all the series. Like it was it was a cool book.
Okay,
But
cool.
besides Geronimo Stilton, I'm just like a autobiography girl.
Thank you for your book recommendation. It's been a very fruitful discussion, really eye-opening learning experience, especially in terms of your journey with Miss Sāmoa Pageant. And I just want to say thank you so much, Shalom, for coming on the podcast, on the Reads of Rosa podcast, and just sharing parts of you that, again, we do not see on social media snippets. And, watching your journey, it was important for me to kind of give you give you a moment to be able to I really wanted to highlight your platform, especially your small business, and just show that there are other sides of you, you know, that people may not know about. So I appreciate you so much for just for being and sharing the space. I want to wish you all the best as you embark on the journey as Miss Sāmoa New Zealand, and you start, you know, doing the hard yards and getting the work done. I wish you all the best. Be intentional, be impactful, be you, as you've said, you know, be you, be true to who you are, stay grounded, and just most importantly, look after yourself, you know, because you've already alluded to it, you know, it's not an easy journey. It's almost, you know, the responsibility that you have on you now is huge as a role model for our young people. So just stay true to yourself, keep your circle of support close, and all the best. So I hand it over to you just to wrap up the show.
Thank you for having me as well. Yeah, it's been fun. I'm actually glad I came on, because after my nap, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to stay focused. I have a but yeah, like, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I've really enjoyed it. In terms of summarizing, some last few words, I guess, is like, go for it. You know, like, whatever your heart is, you know, on, and whatever you aspire to do, like, just go for it. You really limit you're the only person who kind of limits yourself, you know. And but, you know, in anything that you do, go with God, go wholeheartedly, really leave your mark. Like, you know, do something as if that was your last chance, or that was the last day you could do it. And that's kind of been, you know, something that's motivated me to doing things wholeheartedly, is I'm doing it as if that was my last chance. Like, you know, like, giving it my all, really show people who you are. For me, it's like really showing people who is Shalom, what can Shalom do. So yeah, as you said, be intentional, really go for whatever your heart is on, go with God, and go 110%. Yeah.